Hello, and welcome to Part 2 of BYOD 2.0 and IP address management. In this video, we're going to discuss some of the requirements, benefits, and the impact that an IPAM solution will have for you and your network. What are some of the benefits and requirements for an IPAM solution? In addition to automating our IP provisioning process and reducing IT costs, mostly around not having our highly paid engineers managing spreadsheets, IPAM also provides the essential technology for allowing you to transition to things like IPv6 and DNSSEC. Also, one of the additional benefits is role-based administration. We can define permissions for the number of zones or the networks at a very high or very low level to restrict access to those who need it. No longer allowing anyone to access a spreadsheet, we can be very granular on who is allowed to use these devices and manage particular networks and zones. One of the greatest benefits is being able to perform recurrent actions very quickly from a central management interface. Things like providing an IP address. As we've seen in the previous video, we can quickly select a network and pull down the next available address very quickly from that interface. These devices also afford the ability to track and audit changes, so that if something was changed and there was a problem, we have an audit trail of what changes were made, so that we can go back to a previous configuration. One of the best benefits that I like is scheduled deployments. Being able to schedule your DNS and DHCP changes to happen off hours. Say, for example, you know that on Monday morning there's going to be 30 consultants coming in that need IP addresses to get on the network. You can, with these IPAM appliances, schedule a change or an addition for your DHCP scope and configure that change to happen on Sunday night. So you're not possibly affecting any production hours. Sunday night, that change is made. Monday morning, when those consultants come in, those changes have now taken effect and they have available address space to use. One of the other advantages of network is network discovery via SNMP. These appliances can speak directly to your routers and switches and find the addresses that are being used and update that data. Typically, we see customers using a spreadsheet to manage the IP address space only for users. They do not take into account what addresses are being used by network devices. So allowing these devices via SNMP to communicate, they can pull in those addresses and have those available as well. We'll also discuss some data validation tools and virtualization support and how we can quickly deploy virtual servers using our IPAM devices. Specifically around virtualization, we can quickly automate the DNS and DHCP core services. Again, these are core to our network. We can quickly provision our addresses and DNS information for our virtual servers and clients. What this does is avoid delays and bringing up these VMs by allowing us to dynamically allocate additional space based on policy that we configure. And then we can proactively monitor and reclaim unused addresses. And the reclaiming of the unused addresses, to me, is one of the very biggest benefits around IPAM. Typically, when customers manage their network via a spreadsheet, no one ever goes back to clean up the addresses that were put in. So we typically find that there's addresses that are no longer being used, but according to the spreadsheet, they're still active. One of the other benefits is being able to accelerate and roll out these virtual servers and desktop as a services by eliminating the manual spreadsheet lookup and individual configuration updates. We no longer now have to wait for someone to get to that spreadsheet, look at the addresses, confirm they're available, and then provide those to us. We can very quickly, via predefined policies, configure these appliances to automatically give us an IP address in our DNS information. It allows us to quickly roll out our virtualized environment without waiting on things like an IP address or DNS information. So, common management practice, we want to automate this IP address management. No more using a spreadsheet, pinging for things, shooting in the dark. We now have software that's centralized, it's secure, so the access to this is secure. It will interact with our existing DHCP and DNS services, so we don't have to recreate the wheel. These appliances can integrate with our existing Windows, DHCP, and DNS servers and pull that information in. It allows us to minimize human errors, so being that we're not manually entering things into a spreadsheet, we don't have the risk of someone entering something wrong or not entering any information at all. We can minimize this manual process. We can now have our highly skilled engineers work on the projects and the solutions they're trying to bring instead of manually looking through a spreadsheet and trying to find out if it's accurate. So this provides cost savings through efficiency by allowing our engineers to be more efficient and making this process of delivering DHCP and DNS much quicker. Two solutions that Comp Solutions supports are Blue Cat Networks and Infoblox. They are both the leaders in the IPAM solution space. There are some key differences between those two vendors. Some examples here. One of the solutions is available as a virtual appliance that can run both on Microsoft Hyper-V and VMware. And one of these appliances can automatically discover your VMware virtual machines using a proprietary protocol. So these appliances, this one appliance can go out and discover those VM machines. Also, one of the appliances can use LLDP for network discovery as well as SNMP. So using LLDP to go out and discover your switches and routers and appliances on the network and pull those addresses in as well. So summary of benefits, core network service dependency. Again, these are core network services. These are not something to be taken for granted, although we often do. Are we going to be comfortable with depending on the management of our core services being left to a spreadsheet that's sitting on the network somewhere and typically not backed up somewhere? What's the impact of our CEO coming to the boardroom, wanting to present something, and not being able to get an IP address or having an IP address conflict, as we saw in the previous video? It's not going to make our network team look very good. Also, what's the impact of a cloud-based service going offline because we have a misconfiguration in DNS, or we have poor documentation for that cloud-based service regarding DNS? That cloud-based service is now offline. Time efficiency. Things that took hours can now be done in minutes. Instead of looking through a spreadsheet, pinging addresses, trying to confirm if the spreadsheet's accurate, we now have the ability to use a web-based interface to quickly pull down a network, find an available address, and assign it. This leads to much better efficiency for our internal IT staff. They can now continue spending their time working on projects and getting those projects to move forward instead of spending hours managing IP address issues because of a poorly and inaccurate spreadsheet that exists on the network. Again, integration with our existing DNS and DHCP core services. We don't have to start from scratch. We can have these appliances integrate with our existing Microsoft DNS and DHCP core services and pull that information in. And then it allows us the consistency of having an automated process instead of a manual process. And with role-based administration, that automated process, we can limit who has access to it so that the possibility of errors is greatly decreased. Thank you for your attention, and please notify Com Solutions for any of your technical and support needs. Visit us at www.comsolutions.com.